30th of March 2026 at 8 p.m. Central. This video is meant for Sarah Bareilles. I think it's time for me to try to tell my story to YouTube. I've been trying to tell it in snippets over the past 9 years. In my life, I've had one romantic relationship. My relationship happened in 2007. In 2006, I graduated from the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities campus, with a double major in theater arts and anthropology. I guess some part of me wanted to be Indiana Jones or something. Right out of college, I was hired at the Mill City Museum gift shop in downtown Minneapolis, and for 7 years I had already been working at the Guthrie Theater in their house management department. In the fall of 2006, I had a dream come true when I was invited to go be an extra in 2 repertory productions of The Miser and Tartuffe at Theater de la Jeune Lune. By early 2007, I finished up with the productions at Theater de la Jeune Lune and dug into my job at the Mill City Museum. As that was happening, I still was working in the Guthrie's house management department where I met my ex, and we dated for about 3 months. While we were together, we danced a lot of tango, watched episodes of Friends TV show. She also introduced me to the music of Regina Spektor, and she asked me to watch both the 1980s version of Dune and The Notebook with her. We watched both, and I still can't seem to remember much of anything about either of those shows besides the fact that James Garner, Ryan Gosling, and Rachel McAdams starred in The Notebook. Our first date was on Valentine's Day 2007. We went to see Pan's Labyrinth, directed by Guillermo del Toro. In 2007, as a 25-year-old, I was still really struggling to try to find my own emotional intelligence. For example, on our first date, it didn't even occur to me that Pan's Labyrinth kind of reminds me of Peter Pan, who I played in a kindergarten production of Peter Pan and the Ninja Turtles. Maybe irrelevant, maybe not, but anyways. By May 2007, my dad, who was living in St. George, Utah at that time, had driven cross-country to see the doctors at the University of Minnesota to have his esophagus removed because of years of beer drinking that had left his esophagus scarred from incessant acid reflux. It didn't really occur to me at the time, but when my girlfriend broke up with me at the end of May, and then we briefly got back together, and then I broke up with her, it didn't even occur to me at the time that my choices might have been somewhat influenced by my dad's cancer diagnosis. In August 2010, my dad died of cancer in St. George. I went back to work at the Mill City Museum. My sleeping patterns were erratic, and my tendency to drink way too much Dr. Pepper went through the roof. In 2011, I was hospitalized because some of my coworkers became seriously concerned about my mental health and my apparent difficulty completing basic requirements of the job that I was doing at the Mill City Museum as a museum interpreter. Over the next 7 years, I was hospitalized 2 more times, and I was diagnosed as having bipolar type 2. I started taking medicine for my diagnosis. In 2015, I had an opportunity to start working towards a teaching licensure at Hamline University in St. Paul. I started thinking I'd try teaching math. Then I got my first F of my education career in advanced mathematics, so I switched to trying to teach social studies, which lasted a semester or 2. And then I decided to switch to learning to teach theater and dance because it felt like a better fit for me. After all, in high school, I had participated in about 16 different plays over the course of 4 years, and one of those 16 plays was a musical which I co-wrote with one of my classmates. Anyway, in 2016, I made a mistake and tried to ask a coworker at the Mill City Museum out on a date. We had our first date, and I asked her out a couple more times, but it quickly became apparent she wasn't interested in me. So I started to let go of my feelings for her, and in so doing, I suddenly started to realize I had very strong feelings for Sarah Bareilles. I first learned who Sarah Bareilles is while watching the Sing-Off on NBC. Then, of course, I had heard a lot of her music on the radio and YouTube. As I started to let go of my feelings for my coworker, my feelings for Sarah grew and grew. Sarah had just released Waitress the Musical on Broadway. She also sang the credit music for Battle of the Sexes, and she wrote a song called Armor. The aesthetic design for the music video of Armor bears a striking resemblance to a painting my maternal grandmother made in the 1970s. I started to have feelings which are tough to describe. I started to feel like maybe Sarah and I were perhaps meant to be together. In 2017, I was fired from Mill City Museum for being late to a shift at work. I was late because I had lost track of time and was watching a Sarah Bareilles video online. Between 2017 and 2026, my affectionate feelings for Sarah Bareilles have, for the most part, only grown stronger. And yet, because YouTube operates on some sort of algorithm, it still pretty much seems like she doesn't really know that I exist or how much I care about her and her well-being. Last year, Sarah and her fiancé, Joe Tippett, got married. I have to admit, when that happened, I felt pretty emotionally devastated. For most of my life, I've felt pretty invisible. But when Sarah and Joe got married, suddenly I started to feel unimportant and insignificant. Now I'm leaving out a lot of important details because I don't want this video to be too long, but I just finished watching Sarah Bareilles be interviewed by Anderson Cooper, and Sarah kept talking about how overwhelming grief has been in her life. And I just want to try to let her know I don't want to add to the amount of grief in her life. When I think about Sarah Bareilles, I get very sad these days because I think about how much I love her. And I think about how I'm sad because she might not know I love her. So with that, I'll end this video. I don't want to be a pest. Sarah Bareilles, if you see this video, I'd be really happy to hear from you. But if you don't want to respond, that's okay too. Anyway, thanks for watching.